Today's podcast is brought to you by Star Local Media, 14 newspapers and websites with a print distribution of 270,000 homes and monthly page views of 600,000 online. Star Local Media, your community voice for news. Welcome to another edition of the Star Local Media Sports Podcast. My name is Matt Welch. I'm the sports editor here at Star Local Media, and I am being joined by Brian Murphy, who's the sports editor for our Frisco, Little Elm, and Salina papers, as well as Justin Thomas, who's the sports editor for our whole slew of Denton County papers. And gentlemen, let's talk some playoff softball. You know, we did the same thing on Monday, previewing Class 6A. We're devoting the podcast this week to previewing the high school softball playoffs for all of our postseason-bound teams. Like I said, Monday we touched on Class 6A. Obviously, hope y'all gave that a listen. So we're going to focus on Class 5A today. That means Frisco ISD, Prosper, the Colony, Little Elm, McKinney North, and then a couple schools over in 15-5A with Lovejoy and Mesquite Poteet. So obviously, when we, as is the case most of the time when we begin these 5A podcasts, we're going to look at districts 13-5A versus 14-5A. Always a lot of fun there looking at those districts. We cover all 16 schools in them, so why not? Plenty of familiarity with those schools.
I cover like 80% of them.
You do. You cover a lot of schools in 5A. And we look at the kind of the postseason landscape between these two districts, and you have the exact same four teams from 14-5A that made it last year. You got Prosper, the Colony, Little Elm, and McKinney North. The order is a little bit different, but same four. Whereas over at 13-5A, you got with the exception of the district champion, Frisco Wakeland, you got a bunch of newcomers to the postseason dance. You got Frisco Independence, who finished in second place, Reedy in third, and Heritage in fourth. I guess let's start with the one matchup that kind of did hold form from last year's by-district round between these two districts, and that is Frisco Wakeland, the top seed, against McKinney North, which placed fourth in District 14-5A.
Yeah, very unfortunate for North. They had a playoff deciding game against Little Elm on Monday. You know, the loser had to face Wakeland, and unfortunately that was the Lady Bulldogs, as they have to go up against Kendall Fritz, one of the top strikeout artists in the area. She led the entire area with 230 strikeouts. So, I mean, if you have a dominant pitcher in softball, you can go a long way, and Wakeland definitely has that, and one of the best pitchers in probably the entire state.
So with it is kind of funky for you. You can see why they had the seeding game, just because it did feel like there was kind of there was a bit of a drop off between Wakeland and the next best team. And
it's nothing against Independence or Reedy, the next two teams, but Wakeland was just that good. They dominated. One of their late losses was to Independence, a 3-2 loss. So other than that game, they've really been dominating people. I saw them play against Heritage, the 4th seed playoff team, and they run rolled them 15-0 way earlier in the beginning of this year. So Wakeland is easily a state title contender right now, and they're state ranked too.
This was the only matchup last year that went the way of District 13-5A. When these two districts squared off, you had the other three, Prosper, the Colony, and Little Elm. They all got past their respective Frisco ISD opponents. And with McKinney North, I think they're kind of comparable to Little Elm, just from a level of play standpoint. I mean, they both played each other twice within a 3-day span. Mm-hmm. Both games were relatively competitive. One was like 3-2, the other was 2-0, 3-0, something along those lines.
It was 3-0 on Monday.
Not a world of separation between these two teams, but ultimately, so that's kind of a hint that McKinney North, their pitching has held up fine. I mean, Lindsey Garner went the distance in both of those games, but just the bats just weren't clicking. I guess
she was outdueled by Lauren Lucas, who's sophomore Little Elm pitcher. She's a Wichita State commit. That's another team with a really good starting pitcher that can go a long way. They upset Frisco. They were a powerhouse last year in the first round. Little Elm was able to upset them in that first round and make some noise, almost beat Forney in the following round. But so that's another team, that can be dangerous because of behind Lauren Lucas.
One thing about McKinney North, just as we cap them, this is the 16th consecutive playoff appearance for McKinney North. So they've been as consistent as it gets in the area.
It's pretty much like every season in their existence. Really,
pretty much. It is the longest active playoff streak in McKinney ISD, just across all sports. But by that same accord, getting past that first round has been a bit of a struggle for them. This is they're going to be looking for their first series win since 2008 against Wakeland, and it's going to be a little tricky. These two teams, they squared off last year in the first round. Games that weren't, when you think of a 1 versus 4, the scores didn't exactly reflect what you would think. Wakeland won. They swept them last year, but it was just by scores of 5-1, and 4-1. But so I think that's kind of going to behoove McKinney North if they can keep the action a bit more on the low scoring side. One thing that's also worked in their favor, just as far as kind of who's coming in with a little bit of momentum in those two games against Little Elm, McKinney North's leadoff hitter Natalie Morton swinging a pretty hot bat went 2 out of 3 in both of those games. But yeah, it'll just be. Obviously, Wakeland is a justified favorite, and they should very much be kind of hanging around quite a bit in the postseason.
I think Wakeland's lineup was better last year, but Kendall Fritz is even better this year as a pitcher, and I think that's more important when it comes to playoff time.
That was a good run they had last year. I saw them play the Colony in the third round, and Colony, who ended up winning the state championship, they got a walk-off to beat Wakeland last year, so it was pretty entertaining. So they were right there with the state champs last year, and if Fritz has gotten even better, that's got to bode well.
And that was a really cool story last year with the daughter and mom and coaching duo.
The coach is now at the Colony. She's an assistant there. I'm not sure who Wakeland's head coach is now. But
it's Nicole Price. It's her first year, and she was one of the assistants the last couple years. So she's young too. She's really young. Head coach, and she's leading the Lady Wolverines, back to a district title.
Yeah, that was cool last year when the Colony and them played. It was mother versus daughter on coaches, and then of course the Colony's Dina Coleman. She's the head coach. Her daughter Jada is the star player for the Colony, so she was playing against her sister coaching in the dugout on the other side. So
that's crazy.
That was pretty cool last year.
That's crazy. We were talking just before this. She's batting 705 or something like that.
Yeah.
Who does that?
714 or 704. Yeah. So that's an improvement over 670 last year as a freshman.
Off her or Texas Player of the Year, whatever she got.
Should we just translate?
Absolutely. Yeah. No. Because this is one of the more fascinating subplots, I think, as you look at the postseason as a whole. Is that obviously Colony is going to get a chance to defend their state championship, but they're going to have to do so with a bit of a different road from last year because they were the runners-up in District 14-5A. Prosper took the 14-5A title, so you got the Colony, and just kind of Justin, you've obviously been covering this team. Just kind of what's the read right now on where the Colony's at as they look to defend that title?
Well, they look pretty good. They lost the 2 games in district. They were both to Prosper last year. They went undefeated and beat Prosper both years. So this year they got second after losing the 2 games, and they played pretty well in their series against Little and McKinney North, and then, as you mentioned, kind of a top-heavy district in 14-5A. So really tough to take too much from the games against the Carrollton schools and Lake Dallas, but obviously they had large winning margins in all those victories. So just the 2 losses. They played Keller, the reigning 6A state champ, pretty close a couple times in non-district. So they've seen tough competition and fared pretty well. And didn't see the second game against Prosper, but that first game, they were right in it. They had the lead in the 6th inning, and then Prosper had a big inning. So, lost both of them, but they were right there with Prosper. So I'd be surprised if...
I don't pay too much attention to 6A. Is Keller still the number 1 ranked team in 6A?
I don't know if they're number 1, but
they're number 2 in 6A right now. This is
number 1's a San Antonio school.
Lady Bird Johnson.
Okay.
Out of San Antonio.
Fun fact, Keller's head coach was the Little M head coach last year.
Really?
Coach Christina Gwynn Barton.
Okay.
She was a pitcher for the 2003 state champion team. So if she bailed out a Little M, I don't blame her. Go back to your alma mater, one of the top teams in 6A. Can't blame her for that. So.
I'd just be fast. Obviously, because of where they're seated, you wouldn't get to see Prosper versus the Colony, round 3, 4, and 5 potentially until the regional final. But I guess between those 2 teams, you saw the first game, and we didn't get to see the second game between them. But what kind of jumped out most as far as what surprised you most about that matchup between the Prosper and the Colony? You just kind of try to size up just what these teams might be able to.
I would say just how Rachel Eckroat, am I saying that right? Eckroat? Yeah. How she was able to dominate the Colony's lineup, because it's a pretty dangerous lineup, and she had, 16 strikeouts, I think, that first game. There was a lot of crowing from coaches and fans about the strike zone in that game, that it might have been pretty wide.
I heard it was pretty controversial.
Leading to that high strikeout total, but, it's the same on both sides, and she racked up 17 strikeouts against a pretty prolific lineup that the Colony has. I would say that was kind of the biggest thing that jumped out to me. Other than that, both teams played pretty solid defense, can run the bases, and obviously can both hit the ball pretty well.
Yeah, Eckroat went 18-0 with a .6 something ERA this year.
Yeah.
She was second in the area in wins, and she missed a big chunk of non-district because she was injured with multiple different injuries, back and something else, and the Stacy Jackson, the Prosper head coach, didn't know if she was going to be able to play in district, and then she gets back right before district, and she's just dominated everyone. She's been the main reason that they've been able to beat the Colony, because she's taken that next step as a pitcher. Because she was good last year, but she wasn't as good as she is right now.
Well, that bodes pretty well for the Colony, though. If she's been that dominant, and they were still able to, I think, 5 or 6 runs that game.
Oh yeah, the Colony easily had the best outings against her. But
the other thing I like about the Colony is that they have, we didn't mention Carly Charles, their starting pitcher, was the state championship game MVP last year. She's in Iowa State. commit, one of 4 Big 12 players committed for the Colony.
And they didn't even win the district.
Right, yeah. So they actually have 6 players that are going on to play college, 4 of them to the Big 12. But Carly Charles had another strong year. She went 19-4. She had 139 strikeouts in 129 innings with a 1.67 ERA. So another good year for her. But what I like about the Colony is that they can beat you in a bunch of different ways offensively. Like we mentioned Jada Coleman. She actually statistically had her stats dropped off a little bit from last year outside of that batting average. She didn't have as many runs or stolen bases.
She's leading the area in stolen bases.
But yeah, she still had 41 steals. She only got caught 3 times. She hit .714 with 57 runs, 25 RBIs, and perhaps maybe the most impressive stat is 29 extra base hits.
When she gets on base, she's scoring.
Yes. So if she gets on, she can score. So they can beat you without even getting a hit. Like she can get on, steal,
walk.
move,
Even if you intentionally walk her, she's moving around.
So they have a player like that at the top of the order that can make it happen. Then you have she's Oklahoma commit, by the way. She committed when she was in 8th grade. Kansas commit.
What were we doing in 8th grade again? I think we said we were on MySpace or something on the previous podcast.
But then they have the big bopper, Madison Hirsch. She's a Kansas commit, third baseman. She hit .487 with 10 homers and a team-high 42 RBIs this year. J.C. Hamlin, another sophomore. She's the Texas Tech commit catcher. She hit .400. She actually had 41 RBIs, 33 runs, and she had 18 steals and only got caught once. So between her and Jada hitting at the top of the lineup, that's 59 stolen bases, only caught 4 times combined.
Golly.
So, and then you have the big bats coming up. And I wanted to also give a nod to one of the seniors on the Colony, Zaria Steiner. She's been there the whole way. She's a Hardin Simmons signee, and she kind of juggled switch hitting last year because she thought it might kind of help out her college prospects, but I think she's hitting more left-handed this year, and she's got her average up to .481 with 34 runs and 30 RBIs. So those 4, along with Meredith Airmine, who's another college signee for St. Mary's, gives pretty stacked lineup up and down.
The Colony's basically a college team.
Yeah.
Which, what does that say about Prosper then? As I'm combing through the box score for their rematch, and Prosper was actually even more emphatic in that rematch. They beat him 10-3, and I mean, Eckroat held the Colony to just 3 hits in that rematch. I mean, so this Prosper team. I mean, how have expectations kind of changed as this team is now just kind of morphed into this potential state championship contender in a district that had was perceived to be the best team in the state coming into the season.
They've rallied behind Eckroat.
Unless you look at coaches' polls, where Little Elm was the only team in the district.
That's right.
I remember before the season, Little Elm was ranked like number
13. The Colony reigning state champ with 6 college players couldn't even get
the same outlet that had McKinney number 2 in the state at one point in time.
Yeah.
And McKinney went on.
Little Elm's a good team. Don't
2
get me
games in
wrong.
6A.
Little Elm's a good team, but they're not. No offense, they're not better than Prosper, and they're not better than the Colony, and it showed. I don't know what the rankings were. I don't know what they were thinking. I'm not going to get into that, but you look at their offense. Julia Bumford for Prosper, she has 7 home runs. She's among the area leaders. Avery Cole-Clazer, and then they have some freshmen that have really stepped up in the lineup as well that weren't on that team last year. So Prosper, they have some experience after making it a few rounds deep in the playoffs last year. So this is a much different Prosper team, much more experienced too, and that little more pop in the lineup to go along with that.
Almost reminds me a little bit of the Colony a little bit, and just the way the teams progress. Like when I started working here, the Colony had never even made the playoffs in softball, and now they've made it 8 years in a row, and they kind of just had the natural progression. They made the playoffs a couple of years, then they won by district round, then the next year they made the second round, then the next year they made the third round, then last year all of a sudden they go out and win it all. Prosper seems like Prosper might be on a similar kind of.
And it helps when you have the numbers. Prosper head coach Stacey Jackson told me, their numbers went up from 20-something kids overall to like 45 this year, and just the program in general. So, and of course they're making the move to 6A next year, so they have the numbers, and it's just
that's going to be a heck of a district. So let's see. Then let's. All right, we can round this out with a look at least as far as capping the 13-5A, 14-5A discussion. Brian, 2 teams that you're plenty familiar with, Little Elm and Frisco Independence. Any initial thoughts on that series?
I said in my written wrap-up review or preview, whatever I should say, that this might be the most intriguing matchup because Independence is in the playoffs for the first time in school history. They've only been in school for a few years, but still, they were 4-5. A little over a month ago. They were 4-5, less than a month ago. They finished the season 9-5. I personally didn't think they were going to make the playoffs. I thought it was going to be Centennial Heritage, some kind of variation of that, Reedy, that combo, and then Independence just kind of came out of nowhere. They also might have the best hitter in the district in Macy Allen. She's a sophomore catcher. She has 11 home runs, second in the entire area. And so they've really come along. They beat Wakeland. We're only one of 2 teams to beat Wakeland this year, and that was the third to last game of district. So Independence is red hot. Winners of 5 in a row, and Little Elm, their mood is high after beating McKinney North, and so something's got to give. So then that's actually going to be where I'll be on for sure Friday for game 2.
Then let's quickly take a look at then District 15-5A over a bit further east, and how Mesquite Poteet and Lovejoy are sitting heading into the postseason. On this side, you got a couple of rematches from last year with them and matching up against 16-5A. With Poteet, you have them against Mount Pleasant, a team that they swept pretty comfortably last year, 12-2, 13-1, and looking kind of it's kind of been just business as usual for Poteet. They finished 10-2 in 15-5A.
I saw something about Poteet. They had a pitcher with a broken arm or with a hurt arm or something, but she was still able to pitch.
Broke her non-throwing arm, and she's not hitting anymore, but she can still. Yeah,
that's
she's
crazy.
still pitching.
Yeah, Maya Stevenson.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know anything about Poteet softball except that I saw that. I was like, man, that's incredible.
It definitely takes one of the bigger bats out of their lineup. I mean, she had 6 home runs, 20 RBIs, was batting close to 400 on the season. But all in all, it's still a pretty solid lineup, top to bottom. It's it's kind of anchored around a series of 4-year starters who have kind of hit in the heart of the order. I mean, they've various players who have kind of fluctuated as far as leading the kind of the area in home runs throughout their high school tenures. You got players like Hallahana Hale batting leadoff.
Say that 5 times fast.
I'm not going to. I don't even think I got it right one time. Ayana Rainwater, who bats 463. Between those two, there's 33 combined stolen bases there. You got Brittany Clark batting third, hitting 450 with 15 doubles, 20 RBIs. And then Stevenson is just she's the anchor on the in the circle. She's been the pitcher for several for a while now. She has an ERA around 3, 163 strikeouts and 96 innings thrown. It's a team that is, plenty comfortable with the postseason spotlight. This is their 6th straight year making it. They have had some heartbreaking exits in recent years. Last year against Wakeland in the area round, they lost just 1-0. So it's a team that's definitely who fortifies itself among the better teams in the area. It's just once you get past that first round, when you run into a program like Wakeland, which as form would have it, they're probably on track to rematch again in the second round if they're both able to advance. We shall see. With Lovejoy, it's another team that's plenty acquainted with the postseason, but it's a little bit of a different path for Lovejoy this season. They do get to rematch the same team they saw in the first round, albeit under a much different pretense. Lovejoy is the 4 seed coming out of 15-5A, and whereas they swept Sulphur Springs last year. Sulphur Springs is, they returned 2/3 of their roster, and they've kind of morphed into one of the better teams in the in the area. As they're the district champion out of 16-5A. They've only lost 5 games all season. With Lovejoy, just in some cursory research looking over this Lovejoy team, it's such a team of extremes when you look at just kind of the way that their district schedule materialized. Of their, let's just crunching some numbers, of their 14 district games, 8 of them were decided by 9 or more runs, and Lovejoy was 4-4 in those games. So it was either kill or be killed, very much. And of those, and then you mentioned of those 8 games were decided by 9 or more runs. Of the remaining 6 district games, 4 of them were decided by 1 run. So it was like a just up down up down up down. You really didn't have any one, not a whole lot of consistency as far as kind of the games that Lovejoy is playing. In the end, though, they end up with a run differential of just +4, despite all that insanity in 15-5A.
That doesn't bode well heading into the playoffs.
but it's also a district that did have. It's like Poteet dominated that district. Forney, we're all familiar with. They won the district outright. With Lovejoy, it's a different team. They did graduate the majority of their order from last season, so it's probably you might not expect a similar outcome when they rematch Sulphur Springs. Springs appears to be a bit better fortified this time around than last year. With Lovejoy, I think it's kind of paramount for this team. They're some of their scores with just how wild and up and down. It's a team that kind of needs to get runners on base. Pitching and defense probably aren't the best methods to victory for this team, because once they get on base, they're as aggressive when it comes to to getting those stolen bases as any team in the area. Against Poteet, they had 8 stolen bases. Against North Forney, they had 7. Against Wiley East, they had 7. They've had players who have had 3 stolen bases in a single game, like Leah Taylor against North Forney, Holly Massey against Poteet. So we shall see if just kind of to what extent they're able to maybe find some semblance of consistency and steadiness loss against Sulphur Springs after a regular season that was anything but. So let's see then.
Sulphur Springs looks like they're ranked 25th right now.
They are, yeah. So it's a much improved team from last year. It's not
that tough three-way tie for 25th. couldn't break that tie.
So
it's basically like an honorable mention state ranking.
I'm sorry, just
there actually are honorable.
The rankings annoy me. Yes,
they do have honorable mention teams.
There are honorable mentions in the state rankings.
Softball, yeah.
Prosper is ranked 4th in the state, and the Colony is honorable mention. Like, come on.
Gosh.
Anyway.
So then let's so we've touched on all of our softball teams. We're actually going to shift gears then for our student athlete spotlight. The fast forward rewind to the soccer pitch as we cap a fitting cap to soccer season. You know, we had a school make history over the weekend at the state tournament. Brian, you got to see it firsthand. Frisco Wakeland becoming the first team since 1985 to win both the boys and girls state championships. So as a means of celebration, Kendrick Johnson was out at Wakeland chatting with the state championship MVPs for both teams. Payton Adams on the girls' side and Marc Borbonus on the boys' side, as the Wolverines reflected on a year that's quite like a year that high school soccer hasn't seen in 32 years. So here's what they had to say.
Welcome back for once again a special this time. Fast forward and rewind when we look back at the past and ahead to the future. This week we got MVPs in the house. Frisco Wakeland's Marc Borbonus, sophomore MVP of the state tournament. And on the ladies' side, we got Payton Adams, junior MVP. You see that associated with your name? What do you think about that, Payton?
I think it's a really good and it's an honor, honestly, to be called the MVP of the state. I love it, but at the same time, it was a team effort. It wasn't just me on the field.
How's it feel, the fact that was like y'all goal? Like I talked to Gracie a couple weeks ago. All she was talking about was beating Highland Park and hosting that trophy for everybody. How's it feel to do all that all at once? Ride.
It feels like a dream, honestly. Like, I would have never guessed this in a million years that we would have won state. Our goal was #421, as you knew, but it just feels so real that we actually came through and we worked our butts off all year, and it just shows that hard work does pay off in the end.
And Mark, you have an interesting journey. Give some insight. So what's the difference between this year and last year? Tell people about your journey.
Okay, yeah, so last year I played on the junior JV squad, and I just helped them record the games. Just like beginning of the season, coach needed somebody to record the game and say I'll do it because I wanted to watch them play for the upcoming years. And then I did that, and I wasn't expecting us to go to state, and we did it, and I got a medal. But I did not get a ring because I wanted to earn my own, and we did it this year.
So you got your ring with your name on it this year?
Yes, sir.
Did your friends joke, hey, man, you went from 0 to here?
No, we actually talked about in our team dinner after we won state. We read the article that says I was the manager, and then they were like, wow, that's such a cool story. You can make a movie out of it.
Would you only be a sophomore? Do you visualize, do you feel like next year you're going to have a target? You went from being the hunted to the hunter next year.
Yeah, so it puts pressure on our back, to come back every year stronger than we were before. And then,
And Payton, on the girls' side, y'all going to have a new coach and everything. How's it feel to see Coach Koroff one last time with that W?
It feels amazing just to see him, go out and, go so strong, and he's worked his butt off, and he's always been behind us, trying to push us to be better players and better team, and it just shows that all his hard work's paid off and that he deserves this. He is always there for us, and it's just amazing.
Are you gonna miss those 8 a.m. crazy practices? I've been to a lot of practices. Y'all practices are intense. It's 8 a.m. It's man, I get a sweat just watching.
Yes, I am gonna miss it. It's gonna be a nice break for sure. I'll get to sleep in a little bit, but I'm gonna miss it a lot. Those intense practices, I'll never forget them. Just how much we did just to show that we could win state.
So what's going through your mind during the shootout and all that craziness? That have to be something you'll tell your kids about. So give some insight to your mindset from when you did your kick to when y'all got that last save. Especially it was a double save, which is crazy on top of that.
Well, I believe in Mackenzie so much. We're really close just because I'm backline and I'm always with her and everything. But I just was I don't know, for some reason I didn't feel as nervous as I have before, in the Highland Park game. I kind of felt relief. I was I just know, this is going to work out all in the end. And, my shot, I knew I took a PK in overtime, and the goalie blocked it, and then I put it in or whatever. But I knew that I would have to go to a different side. I knew she'd know my side, and so I decided to wait and kind of see where she moved, and so I took it there. And other than that, like, I trusted in my teammates. Like, we work on PKs like every day after practice and everything.
Oh,
so
we
work on them. It is.
How much the Highland Park game you got a confidence? Like, we beat basically people think the best team in the nation. Like, that team was good, but did that have y'all that extra swag that y'all needed to get the job done?
Yeah, it did. Honestly, like, it was another game that we had to get past, but it was something that had been in our back of our minds like all year because we lost to them my sophomore year, and it was just heartbreaking to see that we could have gone farther that year, but like we knew we had to beat them to go to state, and that was just another opponent we had to face.
And this is a joint question for both of y'all. How does it feel the fact that y'all put Wakeland on the map, doing something that hadn't done since 1985? Y'all weren't even born last time this has been done. That's how surreal that is. I'll start with you, Mark.
It's something I'm going to remember like forever. It's history that we make, and of course, awesome to do that.
And for you, Payton?
It's going to be crazy. I'll never. It's been amazing. All the team dinners we've had with the guys, and we've been so close this year. Like, it just shows that we're like a true like team together, and we're not just two separate teams, guys and girls. Like, we're always together, and then just to win together, that's amazing.
Talk about being around that senior. What you learned for those seniors? They walk out as two-time champions. It's kind of like the standard for this program. Like, they're gonna be talking about these dudes 15 years from now.
Yeah, no, so the seniors, they were, of course, like our leaders on the field. Like, before every game, they would make sure everybody was focused and everything. And then I'm going to remember them forever, and they, like, had a huge impact on me. But in the upcoming years, I'm the one that's going to have to do that to the underclassmen.
And give us some insight to that bus trip home we were talking about. So that you just get on the bus and just stroll back to Frisco? Like, how was that bus ride going back home?
Okay, so we stopped at Texas Roadhouse for some dinner. We had some steaks, and then after that we just all chilling, listening to some loud music, and then just enjoying the last moments with the seniors too.
Was it cool the fact that y'all had to go to school yesterday, so y'all kind of got that day to detox?
Yeah, we had a long weekend. It was nice. It was really nice to just go out on that and be able to like relax.
So how much time do y'all take off? Man, we got fire alarm. Y'all setting off the alarms up in here. So how much do y'all detox this and then kind of focus on? Do y'all go straight into select, or do y'all just kind of like suck this in like, hey, I'm a champion?
I mean, I have club going on like as well right now. Like, I have games on the weekends and practices like tonight and stuff, but I'll go to those like as I always do. But like, as for like school, we'll get like 2 weeks off for like a break just to like kind of recoup and everything, which is nice.
And for you?
Yeah, my club is still going on also, but my coach, he supported me going to state because it was like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And then, in fact, the day after he won state, I had an 8 a.m. game, so I had to wake up at like 6:45.
How's it feel to play with somebody, Coach Holt, a good dude? 2 champions in 2 years?
Yeah, Coach Holt, he's just one of the best coaches. I mean, 2 years at Wakeland, 2 state championships. He's just puts like the team together, and he makes sure we're all focused and everything. We do the right things in practice.
And do you have a message for Wolverine Nation that's like gave you all the support?
I just want to thank them all for coming out. Like, it was a lot of help, like having y'all in the student section and cheering us on. Like, that was just amazing just to see y'all out there. Like, I know it's like hard during like our district games to come out there and support, but like it's amazing to see y'all out there.
The fact that all our Wolverines were out there, it was like amazing. Like, every time I scored, I made a heart for them because they were all out there for us, and I'm like, that motivated me to do better because I didn't want to walk out the field as a loser since they were all watching us.
I don't think nobody's gonna think y'all some losers after that.
Yeah, so it was good that they were there.
Kicking it at Frisco Wakeland with 2 MVPs, 2 state champions, winners, not losers. Back to y'all, Kendrick Johnson.
And thank you to Kendrick, Payton, and Mark for that little chit-chat. Once again, congratulations to the Wolverines on a couple state championships that they won over the weekend. We're going to round things out by just kind of with a quick look at the series that we're going to be covering for the rest of the week. A lot of these series get going on Thursday. So, Brian, kind of break down what your coverage docket looks like to round out the week.
For sure, I'll be covering Little Elm Independence, either game 1 or game 2. I'm not sure yet. And then I'll just kind of play it by ear. There's a lot of good series, a lot of cross market. Wakeland North should be a good one. Prosper Heritage, I'm not sure. Also, can't forget Salina over there 4A. It's hard to give 4A teams some love. We have such big 5A districts and 6A districts and stuff, but they're playing Ferris They play Thursday and Friday at North Forney, and then Game 3 if necessary as well. But Salina, they're coming off their first district championship in a few years, first undisputed district championship after an 8-2 record. So who knows? I may check out some Salina softball, or either the first or second round. So keep an eye on that as well.
How about you, Justin?
Well, my partner here is going to help out with some 6A coverage. So on Thursday, I'm going to watch the Colony begin their title defense at home against Frisco Reedy. And then Friday, I will be out in Denton watching Hebron take on Denton Geyer in a one-game 6A bi-district playoff game. That game was originally, if you were thinking about heading out there, it was going to be at UNT, but it has switched to Geyer at 7:30 on Friday. So no more UNT, at Denton Geyer, Hebron and Geyer.
And I will, I guess, close out my week by focusing on the 5-6A versus 6-6A bi-district matchups. A couple of those. On Thursday, I'm going to be out at Allen for Game 1 of the Lady Eagles, their first playoff series since 2005, as they open up against the 5-6A champion Flower Mound. Lady Jaguars looking to make good on last year's first-round exit after winning a district title. See what they can do against Allen. And then on Friday, I'm going to hit up Flower Mound Marcus for Game 2 of their series against the District 6-6A champion Plano Lady Wildcats. So for all that good stuff, we'll have
no home game for Marcus baseball on Friday either. So you shouldn't have too many parking issues that can
always
be prevalent out there.
Always the better. Always good to hear that. So we'll have obviously we'll be tweeting up a storm from our games. You can follow us all along on Twitter. You can catch him at
Brian Murphy _. It's Brian with a Y.
J Thomas SCN.
And you can follow me along at M Welch SLM. We'll be live tweeting updates from our games. Afterwards, we'll have everything from video highlights from the games that we cover, rapid reaction podcasts breaking down the games that we were just at. The first spot that you can check all that good stuff out, plus our stories, will be at starlocalsports.com. Otherwise, folks, Brian, Justin, appreciate y'all for tagging along for this. That is about all we had here. You folks enjoy the rest of your week. We'll be back on Monday with another edition of the Star Local Media Sports Podcast. In the meantime, folks, you enjoy the rest of your week, and we will talk to y'all later. Thanks again to our sponsors, Star Local Media, 14 newspapers and websites with a print distribution of 270,000 homes and monthly page views of 600,000 online. Star Local Media, your community voice for news.